Hello and welcome back to the Midweek Fixture podcast. I'm Louis Sellin. It's episode 22 today. It's a bit of a different one today. I'm going to be reacting to the England squad for this week's internationals, the first internationals of 2025 and the first internationals under Thomas Tuchel. Not sure how long this is going to be. Probably going to be shorter than the last couple. We've had a few longer videos and I want to get a shorter video out for you guys today. But sit back, relax and welcome back to Midweek Fixture. So the England squad was announced last Friday. Caused quite a lot of controversy on X and Instagram. A lot of different platforms because of a particular few selections in here. I think people were expecting a very different squad under Tuchel because he had a 55-man list that he wanted to call up. And there's a couple in the 21s that perhaps people believe should have been called up for the senior squad. But we'll start with the goalkeepers. We have got Dean Henderson. Fine choice in there. Probably won't be number 1, might be number 2 or number 3. Had a solid season under Palace. Definitely the season and was very solid last season. No surprise he's been called up. Very good number 2. Then Jordan Pickford, England's number 1. Still, after last international tournament, he deserves being England's number 1. The only one that really showed any determination, desire and passion to leave anything out on the pitch. Obviously, Pickford raises the question mark of, with his feet, playing out from the back. Obviously, his long kicking, fantastic. Saves pretty good as well, but if Tuchel wants to play a more modern style of football, maybe Pickford could drop out, but at the moment I don't see that happening. Then you've got Aaron Ramsdale. Very surprised he's been called up for 2 reasons. 1, because there's 4 goalkeepers in the squad, and 2, because he's not been great with Southampton this season. Obviously he used to be an amazing goalkeeper and everyone was saying he should start for England, but definitely this season, and the end of last season, he's fallen a little bit below what people would expect him to be. Then the 4th goalkeeper called up is one I'm very, very glad has been called up. That is James Trafford. He's had an amazing season at Burnley. Yes, it's in the Championship. I understand that sort of conversation there, but Burnley have conceded about 15 or less goals this season. They went on a 11-12 game streak without conceding. He's made some big saves. He's very good with his feet. Very good for the 21s. Made some ridiculous penalty saves in the England under 21s. And yeah, he deserves his spot on this list. He will probably be England's number 1 in the near future. James Beadle's another one, especially within Brighton, who's rated quite highly. A couple of Sheffield Wednesday fans I've spoken to disagree, but we shall see. He's got a chance now in the England under 21s. Now Trafford's in the senior squad, so we will see what happens there. But in goal, starting will definitely be Pickford in the main 11 that Tuchel goes with. And then on to the defenders. I'm expecting Thomas Tuchel to play a 3-4-3 sort of formation. Maybe 3-4-3. Definitely one of his favourite formations, one that I think this squad points to him using. So, Dan Burn got his first England call-up. Over the moon for him, as is 99% of the population. He deserves it. He really does deserve it. He's grafted. He's got his chance at Newcastle. Was fantastic at Brighton before he got a shoulder dislocated. Played left back, centre back. Was on for Player of the Season at Brighton. Been fantastic, as I said, at Newcastle. Scored a goal in the Carabao Cup final last weekend. And put him at left centre-back for Thomas Tuchel. He's pretty athletic. Not rapid, but he's got some pace. Can head the ball. Well, he didn't head the ball that much at Brighton, which was one of his major weaknesses. But at Newcastle, he did come on leaps and bounds with that. Got that experience, got that knowledge. Fantastic defender. Deserves his call-up. And I would have him in a back 3 on the left, starting. Then comes to the next one is Levi Colwill. Really interesting selection here. Very good young player. Was exceptional at Brighton. One of the best centre-backs I've seen at Brighton for a long, long time. He's up there with Van Heck. Like, this season hasn't been the best at Chelsea. Had a bit of a shaky couple of seasons there, or season and a half, but he's performed in the games that I've watched, and he's got that potential to be a very good player. I could see Tuchel using him on the right in a back three, similar to Dan Burn. He's got that build, got some pace, good at heading the ball, good ball player. I didn't mention that with Burn. Burn is also a very good ball player, like Cole will. And yeah, defenders defend first, of course, but Burn and Cole either side makes for a good wide centre-back partnership. And then coming up is the centre-back that I'd have in the middle of my back three. That is Mark Gahey from Crystal Palace. And I think that's what Tuchel's going to do as well. Gahey's an £80+ million centre-back. Newcastle tried really hard in the summer to get him from Palace. Didn't happen. Liverpool have apparently been looking at him. Chelsea as well, bringing him back. Had a very good season as well. Probably should be at a slightly better club or bigger club than Crystal Palace. Maybe there's some bias in that, but he has a potential to be a top 6 centre-back. And last tournament, he was another one of few players for England that took pride in wearing the shirt and performed how they should be. But yeah, Cole, Will, Burn and Gahey as the back three. Looks to me how it's going to be most likely. Maybe Konza, but we'll come on to him in a minute. But next up on the list is Reece James. Injury prone. Hasn't played that often for Chelsea this season. Yes, he's a good right back. I assume Tuchel called him up because he would like him in as a wing back or a right midfielder, sort of right wing back, right midfielder. So I kind of understand it from that perspective. But does he deserve a call up? Perhaps not. But I guess we'll see in this game on Friday and the game on Monday. And the next up on the list, as I've already mentioned, Konza definitely has a chance to get into the back three starting. Personally, I wouldn't start him over Gahey, Cole or Burn, but he's obviously a very good centre-back, can play right-back as well. Been very good for Villa, one of the main reasons they got Champions League football last season's. Very solid Premier League centre-back. Not much more needs to be said there. And then coming on to a player who's gone from the England under-18 straight to the first team. Burst onto the scene for Arsenal this season. Been very good, very, very good. One of the better players in the Premier this season, especially for Arsenal, and that is Miles Lewis-Skelly. Will play left wing back under Tuchel, I'm sure. He has the ability to do that. He's got his pace, he's got that defensive ability, attacking ability. Still very young, 18, 19, I believe. Yes, there's the questions around his discipline, but some of the red cards have been very, very harsh this season, and he's still young. That'll be coached out of the game very quickly, and I'm sure Tuchel won't take any of that. If that happens, he'll be straight out. But left wing back, Lewis-Skelly, it's not a bad back line so far. And then next on the list is Tino Livramento, a player that Brighton were after a few summers ago. Ended up going to Southampton from Chelsea, and now a couple of summers ago went to Newcastle, had a fantastic Carabao Cup final against Salah, restricted him to peanuts really. I've always said myself, Livramento will be England's best right back in a long time, and had a very good season for Newcastle under Eddie Howe. Manager-player relationship there looks to be a match made in heaven. Livramento as the right wing back for Thomas Tuchel's England team, can attack, can defend, can do everything that you want him to do. And talking of Livramento, the left back for Newcastle, Lewis Hall, is injured at the moment, but that partnership there is definitely one I keep an eye on for England and for Newcastle in the next few years. And then the final two defenders on the list are Konza of Liverpool and Kyle Walker of AC Milan on loan from City. Konza, I haven't watched too much of him this season, so it wouldn't be fair for me to say he definitely should be in the team or definitely shouldn't be. Personally, I'm not entirely sure, so I'll leave that there. Let me know in the comments what you think. Does Konza deserve his call-up? Perhaps Branthwaite would have been a player I would have put in there because he's had a very good season for Everton. Defensively, ridiculous. Pretty good on the ball as well. And then I'd even think if he'd had Adam Webster, Brighton player, if he'd played more regularly at the start of the season and performed like he has done the last 7 games, then maybe he would be in with a shout. And then Kyle Walker, he really lost it at City at the start of this season. The pace was getting cooked. Defensively wasn't on it. Attacking wise wasn't what he usually is. He's getting older. I understand the experience why Tuchel was calling him up. And I assume that's kind of the only reason. Unless he plays him in his back three, maybe. But I don't think that's what he should be doing. But yeah, that is your England defenders. Recap the back line there. Will be predicting a Burn, Colwill, Gurhey back three with Lewis Skelly and Livramento as wing backs. At some point, probably the main back five. But then onto the midfield. We'll start with a player that needs no introduction, and that is Jude Bellingham, England's main man, England's talisman. Perhaps some question marks over a few things. Is he the best footballer in the world? Maybe not, but he comes in, he's clutch, he's just a beast, he's strong, and that's what you need in international football, someone that's just going to be physical, get the ball in the box, score the goals. Jude Bellingham will be starting as Thomas Tuchel's number 8, there's no doubt about it. Then next on the list is Eze of Crystal Palace, can play in the midfield as a 10, if Tuchel decides to go that way, or he could play out wide on the wing, but he's been listed as a midfielder in the squad list, so we shall see what happens there. Good player, deserves his call-up, had a pretty solid season for Palace, was good whenever he's played for England under Carsley, but yeah, I don't see him getting that many minutes at this point in time. Maybe he will in the future, but at this point in time, I don't see him getting that many minutes, especially with the other options in the squad. And then, next up, the most controversial name on this list. He moved to Saudi Arabia, he went back to Ajax, had a big thing there on deadline day because he wanted to go to Monaco, but that fell through. And I'm just surprised he's been called up really after the Saudi move. It's Jordan Henderson. I don't think he'd ever be in an England squad again. I always said previously that he should be always called up for England because what he does for the changing room. But after the Saudi move, it just doesn't seem right to me. And a lot of people said the same on X. Do I see him playing that many minutes? I don't think so. You'd like to think not with the other players in the midfield, in the squad. But again, a bit confusing there, but I'm sure Tuchel will explain his reasoning. And then next up, a player who's had a very good season for Liverpool. Off the boil a little bit the last few games, as is the whole of the Liverpool squad to be fair. And that is Curtis Jones. Deserves his England call-up, in my opinion. Had a very, very good season for Liverpool. Scored some clutch goals for them. Yeah, will be a backup midfielder. I'm pretty certain of that, but maybe we'll play a couple of minutes here and there. Depends if Tuchel rotates the 11s for both games. But they are World Cup qualifiers, so they're quite important games. And then on the list next is Cole Palmer, but he's dropped out with an injury. So that is Morgan Gibbs-White, who has replaced him of Nottingham Forest. Attitude-wise, perhaps question marks there. Definitely over the past few months, but Forest have had a fantastic season. He is a big part of that. And if they get Champions League football, Europa League football, he will be one of the main reasons. Can play as an 8 in the midfield, can play as a 10, can play out wide. So no surprise, he's the person that England have gone to replace Palmer. Again, deserved, as of most players in this squad. Will he play that much? I don't know yet. I'd like to see how he performs under Tuchel. But yeah, next on the list is another player who is pretty much one of the first names on the team sheet. That's a 6, Declan Rice. Always fantastic. Don't need to say much more there. And then the final midfielder on the list, who I believe, in my opinion, will play as an attacker. That is Morgan Rogers of Aston Villa. Been one of the standout stars in the Premier League this season. For Villa, scored some great goals. At the start of the season, he was scoring pretty much every shot on target. Signed for Middlesbrough on the cheap, and then Villa picked him up for about 30 million 2 Januaries ago. Again, deserved. I think he'll play off the right for Tuchel in the 3-4-3 as the right winger. Can play in the middle as well as a 10. Can play as a striker if needs be. If must. I don't see that happening. But yeah, Rogers right wing, as I said, deserves a call up. A player that probably should have been called up before this. But yeah, the midfield will be Bellingham and Rice, and then Rogers on the right. Then moving on to the attackers. Jared Bowen, West Ham have had a pretty poor season. Lopetegui didn't do that much with West Ham. Potter's come in. It's been okay. Hasn't set the world alight yet. I still think that will happen soon for West Ham. Bowen scored for England already. I think he scored in his debut, or maybe it might have been his second game. Not entirely sure. Can play up front if needs be, can play out wide, can play wide midfielders if needs be. A player who should be in the England squad, very good winger. When the likes of Saka come back, maybe we'll see him drop out. But we shall see. Again, deserves an England call-up. Next up, Phil Foden. I don't think he should be on this list because I don't think he's had a very good season. Yes, he's a good player, but his season hasn't been great. Form hasn't been great. City fans, I'm sure, will agree. Annabelle, who you know from the pod, agrees as well. Would have replaced him with Namweri personally. He's in the 21s, but I think he deserves a chance in the first team. And then, next up, your starting left winger, Anthony Gordon. Fantastic. Had a bit of a shocker against Brighton in the FA Cup with his red card, missing the Carabao Cup final. But he's an exceptional player. The only natural left winger on this list, has the pace, can score, dribbling ability, will be fantastic under Thomas Tuchel. Hudson-Odoi could have been another shout on the left instead of Gordon, and I'm surprised he didn't get a call-up, especially with his relationship with Tuchel at Chelsea and how often he played him. And then your starting striker will be Harry Kane. No surprises there. Tuchel knows him from Bayern, knows him when he was in the Premier League. Fantastic goal-scoring record this season, Kane. In my opinion, he is in line for a Ballon d'Or shout. Hopefully, he stays up front and stops doing that thing where he drops deep. I know that's his game, but Tuchel likes the long ball. Kane should score goals under Tuchel in his system, but we shall see. Next up, a surprising one on this list, has been very good since he's joined Aston Villa. That is Marcus Rashford. Surprised, as I said, that he got a call up so early, but he's performed in his last few games for Villa. I guess it's a sort of profile that Tuchel wants in his attacking front line. Could play off the left to replace Gordon, can play up front. Versatile, I understand the call-up. Still surprised, though. And then Solanke, very surprised there. Hasn't been fit for Spurs. Started the season well. Obviously was unbelievable at Bournemouth the past few seasons. I would have had Delap in there personally. Has had a very good season for Ipswich. I mean, scoring goals in a side that can't from the Championship is always a hard task, but he's looked very, very good. Obviously, Delap has trained with the first team squad today. Oh no, it was yesterday, sorry. In the under-21 squad, he's been called up for there, but he has trained, so Tuchel's obviously looking at him. But yeah, front line will probably be Gordon, Kane and Rodgers in there. Some selections I would have put in, as I said, Namweri. Adam Walton definitely should have been in the midfield instead of Henderson. Unbelievable midfielder there. Yes, he's had his injury problems, but he still deserves that call-up. Delap, as I said. Jack Hinshelwood, potentially in the near future, could get in the midfield. But yeah, that is my thoughts on the England squad for these internationals. Let me know what you think. Do you agree with the squad selection? Do you agree with what my 11 would be? How do you think England will get on in the games against Latvia and Albania? I shall see you all next week. Hopefully for a longer video, trying to still get the German videos out. They're in the works. They're getting there. More people from university lined up. Hopefully, I'll see you all next week. Hope you enjoyed. Like, subscribe. Really helps me out. Not asking for any money or anything like that. Just like, subscribe. Really, really does help me out. Can grow the channel and hopefully, yeah, become big. And if you want to come on an episode, comment or message me on X. It's at @LouisSelling_SJ. Or TikTok. That is an English view on Germany. Thanks for watching. Adios.